Okay, now for Conquest Mo Money. There's a lot I like about this horse. The question is if he can get the extra half a furlong in the Preakness today. I'll start off with showing you, these are the advanced tools in Horse Player Toolkit. You can just click on My Race Cards after importing the initial Brisnet card for 99 cents. So I've imported Pimlico for this Saturday. You can also import Bauer and Thorograph if you purchase those as well. And then you go down to Preakness, race number 13. It loads. You can take notes, etc. I'm not going to go into all the features. So this right now is sorted by morning line odds. And Always Dreaming, Classic Empire, Looking at Lee, Cloud Computing, Gunnavera, and all the way down here we find Conquest Mo Money at 15 to 1. So I really like this horse. I think he has a chance to hit the board and could be a good long shot play. I haven't decided quite yet how I'm going to include him in the mix. It might just be a simple win, place, show bet, because right now he's trading overseas at 20 to 1. If he comes, if he stays at 20 to 1, that's a pretty good bet. But let's just dig in deeper to Conquest Mo Money. So he's been racing down at in Sunland. Sorry, let me pull this up. I'm gonna go full screen on this guy because it's a little hard to read. All right. Sunland Park, which is, I believe, is in Arizona, and their meet's probably over, and it is. So anyway, let me go back to Pimlico. So it's a lesser known track, but they have the Sunland Derby, and that lets you get into the it's a feeder into the Kentucky Derby. So Hintz won that race pretty impressively. At least it looked that way on paper. He earned a huge bar, but he got a nice pace set up, and Conquest Mo Money was part of that early pace, and he held on gamely for second. So, and here he is in the pace projector for today's race in the Preakness. He's definitely going to go. He's got early speed. I would say probably a little bit faster than Always Dreaming, which Always Dreaming's early pace figures, in those last two he earned a 93 and a 90. And Conquest Mo Money, yeah, earned a 94, 94, 99, 99, 100. So Conquest Mo Money is going to be right there and will more than likely be in front of Always Dreaming. And what I like about this horse is he's got a lot of fight in him. He doesn't give up. But my concern is as he stepped up to this 9 furlong distance, he's struggled, and his Bauer figures are pretty low. His Brisnet figure, he earned a 99, which puts him in the mix. That was in the Sunland Derby. This was in the Arkansas Derby, which Classic Empire won the Arkansas Derby with a 94 Bauer and a 96 Brisnet, and Conquest Mo Money had a 99 Brisnet, which is actually higher than Classic Empires, which is interesting. But so I won't dig in too deep to that. But Conquest Mo Money, he's got early speed. He's going to go. The question is, can he hang on? So let's try to answer that. So here he was in his first maiden. Pretty tough field, 3 next out winners. And what that means is the horses in their next race, 3 of these horses won, including him, where he ran a 74 Bauer. these are the Bauer figures the next out horses earned. It was a hot early pace. He was back off the hot early pace in his maiden. This was an 8 furlong race down there at Sunland, and it looked like they were walking home exhausted. Just everybody was staggering home at the end. Late pace figure, you can see it was just kind of a slow decline toward the end. Who could last? And he made it. Maybe this little bit of breather he had at the beginning probably helped a little bit. So from there he goes right into a stake competition, 100K, that also had 4 next out winners. It was just an average pace in this race, but tough looking group of horses. The highest Bauer anybody earned coming out of this race for their entire lifetime was a 78. Obviously that's not including Conquest Mo Money, because he's earned a 93 in his last effort, but all the other horses he faced in this race, the highest they've earned is a 78. So not that tough, but he beat him by 11 lengths impressively. So then he comes over to this, which is this is a prep race for the Sunland Derby, 28 days out, and won handily. I guess $1.30 didn't make him the favorite, but let's see here. He beat IRAP, who came in second. It says it beat him by 2 lengths, but IRAP was pretty close to him, and it looked like IRAP had a shot to beat him. Let me see who went off favorite. Yeah, IRAP, the maiden, went off favorite in this race. So, surprisingly, somebody knew something about IRAP. But regardless, he didn't fire. Close that out. But what's interesting with IRAP is he came back in the Bluegrass Stakes in his next race and beat Practical Joke, Taprit. Actually, he ran in the Sunland Derby, but he comes back and wins the Bluegrass Stakes as the longest shot on the board. So, in this race, it was a very fast early pace. He was up on it, was able to get the distance, and kept fighting till the end. He was wide in the hot early pace, while Hintz, I'm sorry, that's the Sunland Derby. Let's stick with this one first. All right, so fast early pace. IRAP came in second. This race just looked slow to me when I watched it. Probably why you got the lower Bauer figures. You can see maybe the middle was a little faster, but he got a good 88 Brisnet figure, which is not bad. He beat IRAP by 2 lengths, and IRAP had a much tougher trip than he did. He wasn't loose on the lead, and he hadn't been really loose on the lead by himself in any of these races. There's been plenty of speed, so it'd been congested up there, even though it looks like he was the lone up there winging it. He was definitely in front, but he had people surrounding him. So, and then he comes into the Sunland Derby after winning that race 3 races in a row, and didn't go off favored because Bob Baffert and some others brought over shipped in some races over here because this is a Derby prep. Everybody wants to get in the Derby, and performed well. Ran second to Hintz because there was a complete pace collapse. Very fast early. He was much closer to the pace and wide in this hot early pace, while Hintz was set back, basically dead last, and watched while saving every inch of ground, which allowed him to pick up the pieces late, and he earned plenty of buzz coming into the Derby. He earned a big Bauer figure, a 98, which they came back and bumped up later for some reason. But so this was his first major Derby prep, and like I said in the Kentucky Derby, what you want to look for is a horse that, to get these longer distances, you want a horse that can is getting faster, can hold on late. So this is a good time for the final furlong, the 12.72 and the 25.72. And what we want is for that number to come up combined under, sorry, it's massive. I've got my screen resolution smaller to try to make this visible. Alright. So what we want are these two numbers to add up to less than 38. So it's 25.57 plus 12.72. So he's a little bit over in the Sunland Derby, not a tremendous amount. But then if we look at, and then he ran again in the Arkansas Derby, another mile and 8 Derby prep. 25.27 plus 12.57. So in that one, he was able to meet the final furlong theory, which I've found in several derbies now to be very predictable. I'll just pull up the Kentucky Derby, what it's all about, just as a refresher. But basically, it says the last furlong needs to be less than 30 seconds, and the last 3 furlongs needs to be less than 38 seconds. So 13. I don't know if I said 13. And it's predicted since 1990, 24 of 27 Derby winners have met at least one of these criteria, and 21 of 27 met both of them. So that's a pretty good hit rate as far as statistics go. And notice that Irish Warcry did not meet that criteria when he won in the Wood, which I chose to ignore, which I got into in this thing. So I will not get bit by that again. So it looks like Conquest Mo Money has the ability to hang on late according to these numbers right here. What's tough is when you look at Always Dreaming, compare his numbers to that, and you can see he ran a 24.05, 12.53 in his mile and 8 Derby prep. And that's considerably faster than Conquest Mo Money, who ran 25.27. Kind of got progressively tired, whereas Always Dreaming was able to kind of rate his speed. He was up close, ran about as fast quarters as Conquest Mo Money did. 23s. This is this horse's furlong time for the quarter. So he ran 23, 23, 23, 24, 12, whereas Conquest Mo Money's running 22 very fast early, 23, and then he kind of slowly slows down because he's obviously getting tired. They're burning it up. He did get a little bit of a breather in the Arkansas Derby, so he was able to finish a little bit stronger. So one could reason if he gets a little bit of a breather today at the Preakness, he could take it a little farther too. This race is a mile and 3/16, and what that comes out to is 9.5 furlongs. This race was a mile and an eighth, and that's 9 furlongs. So he's going to have to go an extra half a furlong, right? But if he can relax a little bit out there on the lead, and Always Dreaming kind of lets him do his thing, nobody tries to burn him up, he very well could hold on, possibly even win, but definitely fill out the exacta and trifecta at a big price. So he's going to be my long shot key for sure. But let's just look at how he performed in the Sunland Derby, and I'll just go ahead and play the race. You know, it's about 2 minutes long. Let's see. Hintz wins this one from way, way back yonder. Hintz is number 9. Conquest Mo Money is number 12. I like that the same jockey's staying on today for every race. So this jockey knows this horse backwards and forward. Here he is, number 12. Hintz is number 9. Right there, you can see Hintz fading to the back, whereas Conquest Mo Money's up on this hot pace. Wide on the first turn, which is not where you want to be, on a hot pace. So he's working hard right now. That's Hintz all the way in the back. Here's Conquest Mo Money. Yeah, he's in a good spot right there. These guys are all up here dueling. The Sunland Derby, where Bronze Age was the heavy favorite, 5-2, and he folds up right here. It's Bob Baffert's horse. Up the rails goes Oxford Lane. The leader's got away. Hedge Fund behind them. Hintz is running on. Bronze Age has dropped right out of the race. Yeah. And last is Wine and Divine. He just pulled up. There's Conquest Mo Money, still right there, firing fast times. Here comes Hintz up. Let me see. I lost Hintz. There he is. There's Hintz. He came from last with. That makes it looks better than it was because, you know, Hintz is really picking up the pieces late. That's where it can be tempting to think, oh, this horse is he's amazing. But he had a nice fast pace to close into. Conquest Mo Money held on gamely after, you know, winning the pace duel, but they call it winning the pace duel but losing the war. So show his next race briefly in the Arkansas Derby. So they're like, you know, they didn't earn quite enough points to get into the Derby at that point. So 20 days later, they come over to Arkansas for this Derby to try to get in. And closer favoring pace and ace flow, which means there's so many horses up on the lead. This dark sea, it means very closer favoring. And Classic Empire benefited from being off the pace. There were a lot of speedsters in this race, including Malagasy and others, which I'll show you. But Malagasy, they said he had distance limitations, and it was true. 2 horses came out of this race to run very good in the Derby. Classic Empire came in 4th in the Derby, and Looking Elite comes in 2nd. So let's just watch this race. All right. Let's focus. Conquest Mo Money's number 11. It'll be easy to follow. Looking Elite will be far back. Classic Empire, the 2, he'll be about mid-pack in the yellow. Here's Conquest Mo Money. Let me enlarge this. So here he is. That's Malagasy right on his hip. He's a very fast horse. Won the previous prep for this race coming into here. But they didn't know if he could get the 9 furlongs for this race, much less the 10 furlongs in the Kentucky Derby. So there's Conquest Mo Money up there with Grandpa's Dream at 85-1. So they're up there dueling it out. Malagasy's getting a good trip sitting behind. You know, this is obviously some cheap speed here in number 5 that's going to fade. Right here's Classic Empire. Fairly close to the pace. It wasn't that fast of a pace, but it was just a closer favoring flow based on, look how congested it is in here with all these, you know, the horses, it's like sitting in traffic on the expressway. You know, it's like having semis next to you on each side. You want an easy trip without being kind of pinned on the rail, Have horses to your outside. Okay, put away Grandpa. Here comes Malagasy, a fast horse who actually heads him here on the final turn. So right there, a lot of speed horses will be like, all right, I'm done. I've been headed. But he says, no, I'm fighting back. I got some more. That's looking at lead, diving for the rail impressively, who saved all the ground. Malagasy fights back as well, but he keeps going. Conquest Mo Money puts away Malagasy. Classic Empire picks up the pieces late after those guys are just dueling it out. And what's beautiful is that Conquest Mo Money is going to get a much softer pace today because there's not as many need to lead types in here. Always Dreaming's going to let him sit out there and enjoy the trip. I'll just pull up one other test that I use. This from Thorough Manager, which is an awesome product. Please subscribe to it. So on Saturday, Pimlico, gotta scroll down quite a bit. Race number 13. Come on. There we go. So this red means that they're fast. They like to go to the lead early. And Conquest Mo Money and Always Dreaming are basically the only reds. Hence, the only time in his life he ran forwardly placed is when he lost a maiden try back here. Couldn't capitalize, and they finally figured out, Steve Asmussen's on record saying he finally figured out here in the Sunland Derby that he likes to come from way back. So that's going to be their game plan. They're not going to change anything. And none of these other guys want to go. So he's going to have probably the easiest trip of his life, Conquest Mo Money. Always Dreaming is going to be coming late and very well may beat him, but at 15 to 1, I'm willing to roll the dice and try to make some money.